Hi, in this video I'll show you how Centrify privilege elevation works and how it uses token manipulation instead of injecting a password. And the reason why I'm showing you this is because, like I told you, uh, protecting against advanced Windows threats is more about discipline rather than just focusing on technology. A lot of Windows administrators make mistakes like, not separating their regular user account versus a privilege account. They may use infrastructure accounts that are shared all over the place that, should they be captured, allow an attacker to move laterally. There's a lot of things like, not patching the operating systems or using older versions of Windows. What do I have on the screen here? So, like I showed you in the post, we have Lisa. So Lisa is a regular user. So if I do a who am I groups, notice that she's just a regular person, right? She doesn't belong to any of the interesting groups that like local administrator or power users, right? What is it that you're trying to avoid? That in the case of node breach, when you're doing privilege elevation, that you either do the run as command or inject the password on anyway, the hash is going to be captured. Notice that the precondition here is a node that has been breached. That's why the best practices of having an operating system that is up to date, having patching, having anti-malware, having antivirus. It's kind of like the first line of defense. And for Windows administrators, using secure workstations that are not connected to email or to the internet is the best practice to do administration. That's where you load your MMCs and the rest. What can you gain with DirectAuthorize? You get the ability to have additional controls that allow you to control who can access a system. For example, you could stop a domain administrator from logging in a PCI system. But aside from that is the privilege elevation mechanism. So let's just prove first and foremost that Lisa is not a privileged user. A caveat here to show you, I have Process Explorer, these internal tools here, some of the best tools out there for Windows product managers or SCs to use. And let's just pick on one, Event Viewer. This is going to be real quick. All I'm going to do is I'm going to open it. And notice by default, because I'm not a member of the local administrators in this box, if I want to be able to open the security log, I'm going to get access denied. There you go. You can see it there, the typical access denied, right? Same thing, for example, let's just say I wanted to run something like disk management, right? So disk management requires access to, lower level access. So disk management, notice I'm going to get right away access denied, right? So, but we have Centrify software loaded here, and notice what it says. If I open the authorization center, and notice that I can log in through the console and remotely, and I have a couple of roles that I can use. I'm focusing on this Windows admin role, so if I double click the role, notice that it's allowed to run at any time. That means that you can time bound a role. Perhaps somebody should be able to do administrative tasks only at a certain day or time. So you have the ability to do that. And the right that it has is the administrative desktop. One of the cool things about the administrative desktop is that when you do that, you allow people to launch applications. So let's go ahead and compare. I'm going to launch Event Viewer normally. And again, this is my Event Viewer that doesn't have the ability to see the security log. If I look for it in sysinternals, notice that I have this MMC here, right? This is the MMC that we're talking about, right? This is Event Viewer. So if I look at it, notice that it's MMC but launching Event Viewer. What I'm looking for here is basically the security of that particular application. So let's look at security, and notice what you want to focus here is on the tokens, right? So these are all the tokens that the user has, right? Based on what we saw before, right? Everyone, built-in users, NT, interactive, right? So those are the tokens that exist here. So notice that the tokens here are not privileged tokens at all, right? The difference here is that when you launch a process using Centrify DirectAuthorize, you can right-click on it, run with privilege. You could do this over the command line as well. One of the things about this one is set up to use multi-factor authentication, right? That's why we have the little phone in the background here. I'm going to go ahead and get a text. And I'm hoping that I have really good signal here. Sometimes when I do this type of demos, um, I don't get the signal that I want. But and obviously here I need to clean my fingers so I can unlock this. So what did I get? I get a text message, right? I'm gonna go ahead and open it, and notice that basically it goes out. I have the ability to type the code here, but and I'm going to probably the wrong place, but notice that I can go ahead and approve it, right? And at that point, it ran the program no problem with privilege elevation, right? So and let's just close this one out. And what's the difference between the older image and this image, right? First and foremost, if I go to the security log, notice that I can open and view the security logs in this box. But let's go ahead and inspect what's going on here. Notice the indentation here, right? This process is a little bit different. So let's take a look. If we double click the process, let's verify first and foremost the image is exactly the same image, right? The only difference is going to be in the security. Notice here that I now have the built-in administrators, which happens to be exactly what was defined in the case of the role. So if I look at the desktop, right, and let's go ahead and look at that. The desktop was defined to be running as a member of the built-in local administrators. This happens to be exactly what we see here. So there's a correlation of that. And obviously, we have more tokens here that are part of that execution. So bottom line, I don't want to make this video too long. What's the bottom line here? That people can log in as themselves as a regular user, minimizing the risk of logging in and having a hash of a user that is really powerful being captured. Remember, when you log in, if the node is compromised, regardless of you logging in with a password, with MFA, with a smart card, right? The hash of the user's password is going to be captured, right? And what you want to do at that point is limit lateral movement. If the user is just a regular user, everywhere they go, their movement is going to be limited by what that hash can do. Again, there's other controls that need to be in place before a node is breached, like I said before. Using secure workstations, being able to separate, local your regular account from privileged accounts, having patch systems, modern OSs, as well as anti-malware and antivirus. So there's a lot of things that have to go wrong in order for you to get a node breach. But at the same time, the habits that you have may contribute for a member of the red team to be able to move laterally any way they want, right? Another benefit that you get with our solution is multi-factor authentication on privilege elevation. Also, you get the benefit of SIEM integration. We always try to do the right thing. So if I go and look at the application log, what you see here is that, hey, this person actually launched this process, right, with privilege. Another capability that we have available is our privilege access analytics, right? And allows you to use risk as a factor. Perhaps if I work from New York and suddenly I pop up in Florida and I'm doing some elevation, right? Ultimately, that should be flagged because of the factor of speed. So there's many things here. But bottom line, what I want you to keep in mind is protecting against Windows credential theft, advanced threats like pass the hash, pass the token, right? Many more, they rely more on discipline and the balance of people, process, technology that one single solution can do for you, right? That is the expectation. Unfortunately, a lot of people don't get it, right? You could have the best solution in the world, and just because you're just doing your administration as your privileged user, suddenly you get, phished or scammed or some malware, then you have some code running as a privileged account, and that's a formula for a node breach. At Centrify, we're focusing on zero trust. Part of the principles of zero trust is validate the user, validate the device as well. And we're working with many other integrators to make sure that this paradigm is complete. So I'm hoping that this helps, and keep visiting the community. We're happy to help.